We are going to take a thorough look at the Chopard Alpine Eagle, but not just any Alpine Eagle, at least if you can say that anyway about any Alpine Eagle. We're looking at the Alpine Eagle Cadence 8HF. For starters, it's a very cool and good-looking luxury sports watch with an integrated bracelet. The case and the bracelet are made in titanium, thus very lightweight. And there's that Alpine Eagle dial that is so mesmerizing. Personally, I love watches with a metal bracelet, and this Alpine Eagle fits right in. But the thing that really makes the difference, at least to me, is inside. It's that 8 Hz movement. You might wonder, 8 Hz, what does that exactly mean? You might have heard about high frequency or high beat movements. What exactly means high frequency? This is important since we're looking at the Alpine Eagle Cadence 8HF, a watch with a movement that runs at twice the speed as most movements on the market today. First, what is the frequency of a watch movement? To make it simple, it's the pace at which the regulating organ oscillates, the tick-tock of the watch if you want. It is expressed in hertz or vibrations per hour. Most watches today have a frequency of 4 Hz or 28,800 vibrations per hour. 4 Hz frequency has long been seen as the best compromise between precision, stability and durability. To make it clear, this frequency means that the regulating organ performs 4 oscillations per second, with one oscillation transforming into 2 vibrations, the tick and the tock. If you look at most mechanical watches running at 4 Hz, the second hand performs 8 jumps per second, tiny little jumps, which already looks pretty smooth. But then comes the concept of high frequency or high beat movements. Most of the time we consider high frequency anything faster than 4 Hz. Even though high frequency isn't a new concept, high frequency movements beating at 5 Hz became popular in the late 1960s with the Girard-Perregaux, Gyromatic, Longines Ultrachron and several Seiko watches. And in 1969 Zenith releases the El Primero automatic chronograph movement with a 5 Hz frequency or 36,000 vibrations per hour. What are the advantages? On the principle, it's like statistics. The more data you collect, the more precise the measurement of an average will be. So if you make an analogy with watchmaking, the more beats you'll have, the better will be the precision. The errors of one beat compensating for the errors of another. Well, it's only in principle. More pragmatically, we need to talk about rate stability. The regulating organ is subjected to multiple interferences such as the temperature, magnetic fields and of course shocks. With this in mind, the greater speed or rate, the less responsive it will be to outside interferences. With more oscillations per second, the balance will be less influenced and will be able to recover quicker from these disturbances than a movement that's beating at a slower rate. All in all, it means that a high-frequency movement is more stable and thus more precise. There are, however, disadvantages to high-frequency movements. The first, naturally, is about power reserve. In your car, for instance, in your car engine, the faster you run, the more gasoline you will consume. The same goes for a watch movement. The faster the frequency, the more energy will be consumed by the regulating organ. Thus, high-frequency watches tend to have a shorter power reserve. The other issue is wear and tear. Again, it's pretty easy to understand that the faster a movement runs, the more wear the components will face. If the problem isn't addressed correctly by the watchmaker, the components will wear faster, potentially causing trouble. Or it would require shorter service intervals. Basically, it's like comparing the slow-running engine of a 1980s diesel Mercedes to a high-revving flat-six GT3 engine. Recent developments such as silicon have made it possible to create high-frequency movements addressing the issue of wear and tear. This material reduces the friction to a minimum, almost entirely eliminating the need for traditional watchmaking lubricants, and as a result, increases the durability of all the sensitive components of the regulating organ. Now, let's move on to the Chopard Alpine Eagle Cadence 8HF. While most high-frequency movements or high-beat watches on the market rely on a 5 Hz frequency, this Chopard's in-house caliber beats at an even higher frequency of 8 Hz, which is double of what you will find in most modern mechanical watches. Chopard has been conducting research in the field for years. The brand released its first experimental watch ticking at an impressive 8 Hz frequency in 2012, the LUC 8HF. Followed by multiple limited editions, it was about time for the brand's luxury sports watch, the Alpine Eagle, to also get this high beat movement. It was first unveiled in 2021 in a grey dye limited edition, and this year the Alpine Eagle Cadence 8HF becomes part of the permanent collection, this time equipped with a black dial. The main element to discover in this watch is its movement. At first, when looking through the sapphire back, it looks like a traditional automatic engine. Except, to make this high frequency possible and to make it chronometer certified, some major changes had to be done. The in-house automatic caliper is based on the same architecture as the movement found in the traditional Alpine Eagle automatic, but to move from 4 Hz to 8 Hz, most of the components of the regulating organ have been changed. Chopard has designed a regulator fitted with an impulse pin, a pallet lever and an escape wheel, all made from silicon, an anti-magnetic and lubricant-free material. Also, the escape wheel now comes with a much higher number of teeth, resulting in fewer degrees of rotation per beat. In addition, the balance wheel is smaller in size and has lower inertia, a necessity to achieve higher frequencies. It oscillates at an amplitude of about 200 degrees only, while a regular watch is 300 degrees roughly, meaning that it's rather efficient and won't consume too much energy from the barrel. In fact, the power reserve is actually very comfortable at 60 hours, and that's really not bad for a fast beating movement. It's actually the same as the movement in the classic Alpine Eagle with 4 Hz, and that says a lot about the efficiency of the new regulating organ. Of course, it was necessary to prove the benefits of such a high frequency, and the Alpine Eagle Cadence 8HF is chronometer rated by the COSC. Back to the watch itself. The Alpine Eagle, including the 8HF version, is Chopard's version of a sports watch with an integrated design. It is a descendant of the St. Moritz model of the 1980s and comes with a rather striking design, combining a barrel-shaped case with a round bezel and 8 screws positioned in a rather unusual way. What makes the 8HF so appealing to me is the fact that it's made of titanium, with its 41mm in diameter and 9.75mm in thickness. It's larger and thicker than a Royal Oak Jumbo or a Patek Nautilus, but the use of titanium makes it so pleasant to wear. You forget the size and it becomes a really comfortable watch on the wrist. And it's 100-meter water resistant, so it can be used as your daily or even weekend watch, no problem. The dial is stunning, and the pattern, which you can find on all Alpine Eagle watches, is inspired by the iris of an eagle's eye. But since the dial is now pitch black on this non-limited version, it's quite discreet and provides a great contrast. I personally preferred the grey model because, well, monochrome. But the touch of the orange on the second hand and the logo at 6 o'clock is a really nice touch. Plus, I also like the fact that the Roman numerals 3, 6 and 9 o'clock have been replaced by classic markers now, as it makes this version cleaner and a bit more sporty. I'm not sure about the date at 4:30, but, at least it's printed on a matching color disc. As with the case, the bracelet of the Alpine Eagle 8HF is made of titanium, and it makes it comfortable and light. But I regret the absence of the fine adjustment on the clasp. As said, this black version of the Chopard Alpine Eagle 8HF is now part of the permanent collection, and it's priced just over 22,000 euros. More than the classic model, but you'll also get a pretty impressive movement in exchange.